Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, and we got some major breaking news courtesy of Organic Dinosaur. We have Boruto anime episode spoilers for Boruto episodes 287 to 290, and these are going to be the episodes for the Code Assault arc. So this is the first manga canon arc that the Boruto anime's been doing, if you discount the Sasuke Retsuden adaptation of the light novel and the manga, but this is coming straight to us from the Boruto manga itself. And just looking at the episode titles and the synopsises, I can tell you that we're going to be going through the Code arc in a pretty decent pacing amount. We're going to be going from chapters 55 up until it looks like about chapter 61 by the end of episode 290. Which, speaking of chapters, my copyright strike on Boruto chapter 77 has been removed, so that chapter review is back up on the channel. So I know some of you guys said you didn't get a chance to watch it. I'll leave that linked in the end credits to this video for anybody who hasn't seen the chapter review, or if you've already watched it, I'd appreciate if you go by that chapter review again and just show your boys some love, because it's been taken out of the algorithm due to that copyright strike. Just as a reminder, the Code Assault arc is not a long arc in the Boruto manga. It took us a long time to get through it in manga format because the manga is monthly, but this is about a 15 or 16 chapter arc depending on where you end it. I know some anime fans are expecting this arc to be something that lasts as long as the whole car stuff, and I want to go ahead and tamper expectations on that, because you had 3 years to build up all that stuff with Kara in the Boruto manga. That's why you had so much Boruto anime original content for a long period of time. This Code Assault arc, if you started at Boruto chapter 55 when Code is looking down at his karma seal and you ended at chapter 72, you've got 17 chapters, give or take, depending on how much of chapter 55 you want to count in this arc. So there's not a ton of material for the anime to go through right now, especially considering the back half of this arc is mostly all action. Again, it's going to be dependent on where they stop this, but just based off of the pacing that we're getting based off of the episode synopsises, if you told me this was a 15 episode arc, I wouldn't be shocked. That's enough to fill up the home media release. That basically allows the anime to do what it did with the Versus Momoshiki arc, which is throw everything onto an extended home media release, have one arc adapted as 15 episodes, and go right back into another long running anime original arc. That way you give the manga more runtime, and there is room for filler built into some of the chapters after 72. If I had to guess just based off of these synopsises, I would say this is probably gonna be a 13 to 16 episode arc. So let's go ahead and look at the actual synopsises that we got. This first one is Boruto episode 287, and it's titled Claw Marks, and it's gonna be airing on February 12th, and this was published on TV Tokyo's official website. The synopsis reads: Code, one of the top executives of Kara, worships Otsutsuki Ishiki, who was formerly defeated by Boruto and his team. In order for Code to meet up with a particular person, he pays a visit to a facility that is home to Boro's religious organization. Likewise to Code, Boro was also one of the other top executives of Kara. Code himself had previously and miraculously survived an experiment that screened people who would become Ishiki's vessel. The experiment was something that Kawaki had experienced as well. Since Code has acquired powers that surpass those of Jigen, who was the former leader of Kara, Code has vowed to take revenge upon Boruto, Kawaki, and the others who caused the downfall of Ishiki. Meanwhile, just outside of Konoha village, some claw marks have been discovered. These are traces of Code that he left behind. The Hokage and his teammates are currently increasing their vigilance because of this newfound evidence. But in the midst of all this, Kawaki proposes a certain suggestion to Boruto. So this one right here is pretty telling right here. So again, we're going to be getting chapter 55, and looks like part of chapter 56 is going to be adapted in the anime episode itself. For those of you guys who are unaware, Boruto episode 219 adapted the first part of Boruto chapter 55. So we're now getting the back end of what looks like chapter 55 and the entirety of chapter 56. And I like how it looks like they're basically going to be giving you more of Code's backstory in the first episode for this arc itself. And they're just going to go ahead and let the cat right out the bag that Code, once he gets his limiters taken off, has a power level that goes beyond Jigen, and it's because that combination between the Karma Seal as well as the ninja tech that Amato put inside of Code's body. And if I was a betting man, I would bet that that flashback that we got with Kawaki, where he's thinking about his interactions with Code when both of them are children, I would bet that flashback is probably going to be in this anime arc right here, or we're going to get something anime original to kind of pad this out. But I'm excited to see where they're kind of taking this one, because because we're getting manga content for the first time in a long time. And the fact that Code left those claw marks outside the village, I'm wondering if we're actually going to see him leave the claw markers out there. And it's actually going to be kind of funny that the whole time that Konoha's been searching for him, the dude basically pulled up to a village and left his claw marks there and then just got out of dodge before anybody realized it. We can thank our favorite sensory ninja Nishi more than likely for dropping the ball on this. But let's move things over to the next episode itself. So episode 288 is titled Captive Slaves. If you've been keeping up with my manga reviews, you know that this is going to be the introduction of a character that I'm a big fan of. So in this one, it says, in order to get stronger and to be able to compete against Code, Boruto decides to invite Kawaki along to work hard in a training session together with Sarada Uchiha and Mitsuki. However, Kawaki gets impatient and wants to get stronger as soon as possible. And so Kawaki gets into a fight with Boruto and the others over their training plan. Meanwhile, Code is at a facility that is home to Boro's religious organization. There, Code awakens Ada, someone who was built by Amado, who is a top executive of CAR and also the former head of research and development department for its engineering division. Ada has been bestowed with the abilities of the Senrigan. However, Ada possesses yet another ability that places everyone at our mercy. So we're going to be getting Ada in the second episode of this arc. I love that we're going to be getting this, and it looks like they're going to be combining the introduction with Ada alongside Boruto chapter 58, which is the chapter where Kawaki and Team 7 get into this huge brawl, and Naruto basically pulls Konohamaru back and says like, hey, you ain't that dude. How about you stay back and let them fight it out? I like that we're going to be getting these two things placed into here. I know there were some people that were hoping that Boruto chapter 58, when it's adapted, we just get one long extended battle. There's probably the likelihood that you're going to get extra sequences because the fight itself in the manga, while it is the entirety of the manga chapter in animated format, this would go by very quickly. So I do think you're going to see extended sequences, but this is probably why they added the stuff with Ada and Code into this episode itself in order to better pace things out for the overall arc. Now, the only question I have is, are they going to make a retcon to the fight itself? Because in the anime right now, Sarada does not have her 3-tomo Sharingan. And in the fight against Kawaki, Sarada never uses her Sharingan. So I'm wondering if they're going to make that tweak right there, because again, she doesn't use Sharingan against Kawaki in that fight. So there's no need to have it there, but Sarada's been without that Sharingan for a long time now. And they did tell us that they had a specific plan in place for Sarada to awaken that 3-tomo. So I'm going to be curious to see that one right there. I'm really excited to see who they have for Ada's voice actress and how they actually handle that role, simply for the fact that when you look at the lettering that Ada speaks with in Japanese, which is a reminder, Japanese has 3 different alphabets. When you look at her lettering, Ada has a quirk when she speaks. So how that voice actress really delivers the words in there, that's gonna be very curious, because the way I've always been reading Ada in the manga has always been with the impression that this would be somebody that has like one of those bratty schoolgirl type voices, just because of some of the lettering that has been brought to my attention by a few people. Now, episode 289 is going to be airing on February 26th, and this one's titled Capabilities, and this was published in Animedia magazine. It says that Kawaki has lost some of his powers ever since his karma vanished. With the way things are proceeding right now, Kawaki feels anxious about not being able to protect Naruto and Konoha. Amado seems to be able to see right through Kawaki's mind and into his true nature of his heart. With Kawaki in that state of mind, Amado says something to provoke him. Amado's assistant Sumire happened to be present together with them at that time. Sumire seems to be stricken with uneasiness, thinking that Amado might be scheming something. Meanwhile, Code has decided to join forces with Ada in order to carry out his revenge. Ada then introduces a certain person to Code, another ally for them. So, yo, I can already tell right now, Code fans, as soon as they heard that line, Ada introduces a certain someone to Code. Yo, Code fans got PTSD right now, man. Code fans got PTSD. Yo, that's an ugly laugh. I'm sorry. Alright. So let me back things up a little bit, man, because I'm going through the synopsis with you guys in real time, so you're getting my actual reactions. Yo, I'm gonna troll hard when this episode comes out. So basically what we're getting here, you can tell that they're starting to plant the seeds that Amato has something else that he wants to do with Kawaki, and I'm gonna be very curious to see how they handle the translation, because you got Kishimoto's deranged kanji in that scene when Amato says a certain something to Kawaki about a bad dream that he's having, where there's a little bit of perverted humor mixed into it. I'm gonna be curious to see how they handle that translation, because Viz Media, you can tell they had a little bit of trouble with it. But the big thing on this though is that you can start seeing some of the seeds being planted into Kawaki's head about how Kawaki's feeling useless. And it's one of those things, if you go back to Boruto episode 217, when Amato is talking to Kawaki, he directly calls Kawaki out on it. He says that you feel empty and useless without the karma. When they were in that underground bunker that Danzo built to hide the Anbu from the Hyuga clan in the case that there was a Hyuga clan coup d'etat, Amato says that to Kawaki, and you can see that Amato's been waiting for this moment right here. So I like how they're just building on to the uneasiness. And if you look at the wording that they have in the magazine, they say Kawaki's uneasiness about being unable to protect Naruto and Konoha. Naruto always comes first in Kawaki's mind. That's a key distinction right there, and I like how they put that in there. If you're up to date on the manga, you know exactly why that is. So the last episode that we have is going to be airing on March 5th, and it's Boruto episode 290, and it's titled Signs. This was also published in Animedia magazine, and according to the episode synopsis, it says that since Boruto and Kawaki's lives are in danger, having been threatened by Code, they have been both assigned guards and put under surveillance. Day after day, the guards continue to observe Boruto and Kawaki. Boruto eventually becomes fed up with the situation. Then Kawaki hears some Shikadai Nar and Inojin Yamanaka. Through that conversation, Kawaki comes up with a method to slip past both the watch of the surveillance guards and the village's sensory system. And so Kawaki begins mobilizing in order to protect Naruto and Konoha. Even though Naruto possesses exceptional abilities in perception, and despite the capabilities of the village's sensory team, both become unaware of Kawaki's action. But for some reason, only Boruto, via a mysterious intuition, seems to be able to pick up on Kawaki's movements. So if you read the manga, you know exactly what this is leading into, and you're probably looking at this and saying, Jesus Christ, we are really blitzing through, because in the span of 4 episodes, it looks like we're covering 6 or 7 chapters, and some of that comes down to one of the chapters itself is action heavy, and then when you start getting into the fight that is coming more than likely in the middle of March, that stuff, if it's not extended, it's gonna go by very quickly. I would not be surprised, just given the pacing of this, if Boruto's anime stops at chapter 72 of the manga, if we don't wrap up this Code Assault arc maybe sometime around episode 300, because we're really getting through this stuff right now. Best case scenario, somewhere in the middle of Boruto chapter 74 is where things get cut off. If you go any further than that and then you start going into anime original content, you're really going to be pushing it. But nevertheless, I still expect this arc to be somewhere around the same length of the Versus Momoshiki arc, maybe 1 or 2 episodes longer than that. And then we're going right back into anime original content. If you want another, say, 50-something episode arc like the whole thing with Car, you basically need 3 years of just manga content where the anime is not adapted anything from the manga for a solid 3 years. Or if it adapts anything, it's only 3 or 4 manga chapters like you got with the Mujina Bandits arc, and then go right back in anime original. My question to you guys is, now that we got the Code Assault arc, which episode from this arc, if you're a manga reader, are you most excited to see?